It's starting now, just a reason. Gauri is starting now.
Yes, I just started.
Yeah, done. Good evening, Sudhir. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Dr. Alex. Fine, thanks.
Okay.
We're all set?
Yes, you're all set. You're all set.
Good evening, Professor Sudhir.
Hi, nice to see you, Arpitha.
Same here, sir.
It's a happy and proud day for all of you.
Yes, all of us, Sudhir, I think
Yeah.
the whole team, including the think tank head by you, have actually worked very hard. I was just thinking back, 2.5 years of a lot of interesting and hard work by the entire team.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening, sir.
How are you, Kanatkar sir? Kanatkar sir, how are you?
Namaste, namaste. Ite yana.
Good evening, Alex. Russell here from Melbourne.
Hi, Russell. How are you? Thank you for joining.
Yes,
What?
thank you.
What time is it there?
It's 11:30, 11:25 in the night.
Oh, okay.
We'll be close to midnight when we have this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for making the effort.
No, sir.
Hi, Dr. Alex.
Hi, Dr. Nandimath. Welcome. Nice seeing you. Yeah.
Same here, doctor. You are joining from home like me.
No, I'm in the office.
Oh, it's your office, is it?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes backgrounds are very disturbing.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Omprakash sir, namaskara.
Good evening,
Namaskara,
Professor
namaskara,
Nandimath.
namaskara. Hi, Arpitha. How are you?
Nice, sir. I'm doing good, sir.
Great.
It's nice to see all of you. Dr. Nagaraj is there. Harsha.
Almost
Hello, Ramat
everybody.
sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi, sir.
Justice sir has also joined us.
Oh, I see. I'm not able to see him, but I'm sure I should be able to.
Good evening, Professor Nandimath.
Oh, sir, how are you, sir? Nice meeting after such a long period of time.
Yes, 2 years of difficult disease. The
Hi,
ethics
Sudhir,
of
how are
COVID.
you?
I am fine, thanks. And you?
I'm fine, sir. I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Alex, so good to see you looking sprite as always.
Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. So I think Sudhir will plan to start on the dot at 6.
Yeah, by then others may join. Another
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yes. Sudhir, you're muted. I didn't hear you.
Are you going to lead Dr. Alex? Oh,
No, Gauri from the publishers.
sure.
So he's ready to press the button in a few minutes.
Sure. Your hands.
I already pressed the button. The webinar has started.
Okay.
Waiting for the attendees to come in. We've got about 11 so far. They're still joining.
Okay. Yeah, I think VC will mention it, but I think already there are commitments for 3,000 copies of the book. Even before the official release.
Yes, great.
Sujit, hi, good afternoon.
Nothing more required for authors than this.
No, I was telling Gauri yesterday that their definition of bestseller is 10,000 in the first year. So I was saying it should be 10,000 in the first month. Because there's a lot of wisdom and experience which has gone into this book.
I think, I asked for 5 copies and already people are asking for 10 more.
Okay.
So I think you are quite right. The demand is going to be a lot. Virtually every hospital is going to ask for the library one book,
Yeah. Harsha, be a little careful. If Gauri hears that there's so much demand, he may increase the price.
I suppose it is worth it. Why not?
Well, I think one of our objectives was to make sure it is affordable to most of our people.
Yeah.
Hi, Arvind. Arvind.
And
Good afternoon.
Sorry, thank you for the.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, hi.
Everybody. Oh, Dr. Mr. Yes, Professor Patel is here, my co-colleague.
Ah, yes.
So nice to see you here. Professor Nagaraj sir, namaste sir. Nandimath.
Yeah, I think this is one book where each of the chapter authors haven't met each other face to face. It's all virtual.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think you've even met. It's all been by email. So I think it's an occasion where we all can place each other. Okay, Gauri, it's 1 minute more, so I'll put my.
Yeah, so I think VC is going to start the proceedings, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, who's going to start the proceedings?
Just 2 more minutes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Arpitha, you can start on the dot at 6. It's just 2 more minutes to go, maybe 1.5 minutes, 1 minute and 45 seconds. On the dot 6, you can start.
Sure, sir.
So, Ms. Arpitha, please go ahead.
Very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizers, it is indeed a privilege to welcome our dignitaries, invitees, and all the participants to the release of this much-awaited book called The Health Law and Ethics: Critical Reflections. I now hand over to Dr. V.C. Shanmuganandan.
Thank you, Ms. Arpitha. On an auspicious occasion such as this, it would be worthwhile to recall the great Greek physician Hippocrates, who is generally considered the father of modern medicine. Quote, "The practice of medicine is rooted in a covenant of trust among patients, healthcare professionals, and the society. The ethics of medicine must seek to balance the healthcare professionals' responsibility to each patient and the professional collective obligation to all who need medical care." Unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, as is customary, we believe that light dispels darkness. Let us begin with Asatoma Sadgamaya, from ignorance lead me to truth. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, from darkness lead me to light. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, from death lead me to immortality. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. There are dignitaries who have been magnanimous enough to agree to be a part of the lamp lighting ceremony. Dr. Devi Shetty, Chairman, Narayana Health, Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Vice Chancellor of the NLSIU, Dr. Abhijat Sheth, President, National Board of Examinations, Honorable Mr. Justice S.R. Bannurmat, Chairman, Karnataka Law Commission, Lieutenant General Retired Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar, Vice Chancellor, Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, Chairman, Axelar Ventures, and Dr. S.M. Kantikar, Member, National Consumer Commission. May I request them to light the lamp and declare the function open.
Sir, you're on mute, sir. You'll have to unmute yourself.
The release of this book titled Health, Law and Ethics, Critical Reflections, edited by Nandimath Omprakash V, Alexander Thomas, and Arpitha H.C., of which 3,000 copies have already been sold, is undoubtedly a landmark event in the history of medical practice in our country, wherein two interconnected professions, law and medicine, have come together towards enabling better ethical practice by the medical practitioners within the framework of law in our country, whereby the suffering patients would ultimately benefit. May I now request Professor Nandimath Omprakash V to kindly welcome the participants, please.
So thank you, Dr. VC. And good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I know there are some people joining from offshore. So whether good evening would be an appropriate salutation or not, I do not really know. But this is a momentous occasion, especially if you really think from the perspective of an academic lawyer like me. If you are a professional writer, obviously book release is part of your routine. But for us, certainly it is not. And my colleague, Professor Arpitha, was so right when she said, it is a much awaited awaited book, because the gestation of this book is slightly around 2 years. So ladies and gentlemen, any which ways, Dr. Alex, my co-editor, when he would follow me, he would try to really unfold the exciting saga as to how this particular idea germinated and how we sort of built a very big team of nearly 50 authors and more than that, reviewers and things like that, and then produce this particular title, which is about to be released now. But in this momentous occasion, the most sweetest part or the easiest part that has been given to me is to formally welcome the dignitaries and others. Already, Dr. VC has read out to you. They have lighted the lamp ceremoniously. But I would take about, let us say, 2 minutes and try to, while welcoming all of you, try to set the ball in motion, if I may. See, we have amidst us a galaxy of dignitaries who are handling very distinguished, what you call as responsibilities from the society's point itself. And Dr. Devi Shetty, who is the chairman of Narayana Health, is a man, when he met, me and my former vice chancellor, he actually sowed the seed that law school should take up the responsibility of establishing a think tank on health. And we also sort of bought that idea, moved very swiftly, and the think tank on health became the reality. So I just would like to extend a hearty welcome that he is present here today when we are delivering the most significant milestone delivery under the aegis of, think tank on health. Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy is our current vice chancellor, a very dynamic youngster, and he is trying to really, drive law school to different level altogether. And he also has some kind of ideas to further integrate the working of, say, this particular, think tank on health. I would welcome him also amidst us. Dr. Abhijit Seth, who is the president of National Board of Examinations, I do not, like others, personally, know him that well, but I know him through his dynamic, what you call as initiatives. I know about him through my very dear and near colleague, Dr. Alex. So I really feel elated and we feel privileged because he is amidst us, joining hands and releasing this particular treatise to the whole world. Sir, welcome to you. Then I have another, I don't know how to address him, Honorable Justice S.R. Banurma, who is a, who was Chief Justice of Kerala. He is a former Chief Justice of Kerala. And more than that, he is the first one among the Chief Justices in India to put his assets and liabilities into public domain, even before that debate, started. Currently, he is also holding the chair, he is the chair of Karnataka Law Commission, and he has joined. Otherwise, I would say he is a very near and dear friend to National Law School and supports us in all our initiatives. Sir, welcome to you. I have Lieutenant General Dr. Madhuri Kanetkar. She is a Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University of Health Sciences. Well, the book is authored in a very simple and legible manner so that both doctors and lawyers can benefit. And our endeavor is, with this treatise, we can very authoritatively ask our medical educators to include this as part of the curriculum, which currently is not figuring out as far as the curriculum is concerned. Therefore, I would say her presence is going to carry our, what you call as initiative a long way. And with a great amount of hope and trust that she would bring that kind of, let us say, weight to the whole program, I would welcome Dr. Madhuri Kanetkar to, our program. Then finally, Shri Krish Gopalakrishnan, who is a very well-known, what you can say, philanthropist today in India, a former Infosian. But when this idea of think tank, was realized, we went to him and he was so generous from his public fund, from his private funds, he could able to, support the initiative. And today, if we are standing on our own, today we are planning to aim big and dream big. It is because of Krish Gopalakrishnan. So I have, no bounds as far as my pleasure is concerned in welcoming him amidst us. Finally, I have, a man whose description, I would put it like this. He is a lawyer, he is a doctor, He is a scholar as well as he is an adjudicator. Dr. S.M. Kantikar is currently the member of National Consumer Commission. On almost day-to-day basis, he would be dealing with these, medical law cases. So we thought there cannot be a better person than him who can probably endorse the value that is about to be generated by this book. And he has kindly consented to be here in this August, gathering. Sir, welcome to you. And this program, I would say, is very well attended by all the eminent authors. I did while ago said it is nearly 50, of us. All of them are present here. The reviewers are present here. So I would welcome them among us. The medical practitioners from India and abroad are participating to witness the release of this book today. I wholeheartedly welcome them. A special note I should make, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to postgraduate diploma in medical law ethics students, both past and present, because they are the people who actually pricked our brain, me and Professor Arpitha, that we probably talk of the same law when it comes to law. But doctors try to understand that law, not like their counterparts, namely the judges and lawyers. That is why we said we have the requirement of generating some kind of a common vocabulary or lingo, so that we try to get onto the same page so that we can discuss it together effectively. And that is possible through this particular book. And I would like to welcome all of them. And law professors from NLUs and other law colleges are also present in this occasion. And I would be joined by my co-editors to welcome them. And practicing lawyers drawn from India and abroad are also present, and I welcome them. Although they are part of, the host, the publishing team, as well as Dr. Alex and Dr. Arpitha also, I would welcome them on my personal behalf. Without their unstinted support, this would not have been possible. Thank you very much. I would hand over the baton back to the organizers of this program. Welcome one and all, ladies and gentlemen.
Dr. VC, you have to unmute.
VC, you need to unmute, I suppose. Yeah.
Arpitha, you can go ahead now.
Thank you very much, Professor Nandimath. On a lighter note, I can only think of these past 2 years, only emails, at least one email every day by either the author, by the editor, by Dr. Alex, by Professor Nandimath. So I've almost forgotten as to, how this very idea of, bringing out this book has, really kept in my mind. So maybe we should hear to Dr. Alex, President of the Association of Health Providers India, on a very brief on how this very genesis of, a thought process of how we come out with this book came out. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arpitha, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again. Healthcare professionals were once revered as healers in a noble profession. However, all of us know that today it's a very different scenario, where they're even assaulted with alarming regularity. This is mainly due to the lack of awareness and understanding of healthcare workers' rights. In our country, I think this current lack of awareness results in fear and ignorance. This, in turn, limits medical practice, and ultimately, if you look at it, it impacts quality of care given. Also, as was mentioned earlier, the current medical and allied health curriculum does not include any legal modules except from those relating to the doctor-patient relationship. The best way to empower anybody, and here in this particular context, healthcare workers, is to educate them. Through various channels, when I say we, it's HPI, the think tank, my other associations and colleagues, we have sought to educate our colleagues in the medical profession in various subjects. As I mentioned earlier, much of this needs to be in the medical curriculum, but is not. So we have, through our various platforms, tried to educate our colleagues in various subjects which are not taught in the curriculum. health communication, climate change, quality, etc. And I've had some success. In fact, this book on health curriculum, which was actually launched about 7 or 8 years ago, this has resulted in a communication movement and has resulted in this subject of health communication being included in the curriculum by the Medical Council of India since 2019. And looking back, we all are, I mean, it's unthinkable that this important subject was not included in the curriculum. But this is just to give you a brief glance of what we are trying to do and what is the relevance of the book that we are launching today. The think tank on health, this is a prestigious think tank with prestigious members who have, will give you more details on that. At the equally prestigious National Law School of India, which is a jewel in the crown of Karnataka and of the country, the best known law school in the country, known internationally. This was, the think tank was set up in the National Law School sometime in 2018. And I must mention, in addition to the members, the role taken by Dr. K. Kasuri Rangan, who is the chairman of the NEP. He was instrumental in getting all of us together. Almost immediately, a decision was taken, after we met, a decision was taken that we need to expand the reach of the PGDMLE course, which Dr. Nandimath just mentioned. This was a very popular course run by the NLSIU. And at that time, the only center was in Bangalore. So the think tank said we'll set up centers outside Bangalore. And the two centers were set up in CMC Vellore and in Madurai. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, these initiatives have to be put on hold. The PGDMLE course has helped many people. In fact, I have done this many years ago. And this updates our medical profession on the relevant health law. However, I think it's a fact that all healthcare workers may not be able to afford to or attend this course. In June 2019, again at a meeting of the think tank, after extensive discussion, it was felt that a book on the subject of law and medical ethics from a healthcare worker's perspective, there are many books on law and medical ethics, but very particularly, we felt that a book on health from the healthcare workers' perspective be explored. So a concept note was prepared and circulated to 100 experts. As Arpitha said, it's been so long ago that I've also forgotten. But going through my notes, we discovered that we had actually contacted many experts in the medical profession. We invited their thoughts, told them we were writing a book, what are your thoughts? The feedback we received was very revealing, and it also helped us think of the way forward. In a nutshell, the experts, the health professionals felt that the language of the law in available literature on the subject is extremely difficult to follow in medical practice. Based on this and also based on the feedback, we also decided on the finalized topics. These topics were again circulated to a group of lawyers and doctors, and then finally the topics were finalized. I think importantly, and it was also consciously decided that each topic identified for the book should be written as far as possible by a team comprising of a law expert and a doctor. The lawyer would write the piece and the same would be gone through by an expert doctor to see if the language is medically understandable. We were also certain that when an expert doctor runs through these chapters, they would invariably bring in the possible wrong application of the law. Therefore, this work would become very important even from the point of lawyers, adjudicators, judges, and others as well. So this actually forms the soul of the book. And this probably is the first ever attempt in our country of this sort. So in essence, about 20 chapters written by a team of doctors and lawyers bring in multiple perspectives to the reader's consideration. I'm sorry. In reality, as we were saying, the actual work on the book started as far back as January 2020. Eminent experts from both the legal fraternity and the medical field from institutions of excellence all over the country and beyond were identified and contacted. Unfortunately, as we all know, the pandemic interrupted the process. Many of our medical colleagues were busy in the front line battling the pandemic. Others, both are legal colleagues and medical colleagues. Many of them contracted the disease, and this caused a considerable delay in completion of this project. After the first draft was received from the authors, the editorial board reviewed it. Then it was sent to an independent expert for comments, sent back to the authors with the changes suggested, and finally again reviewed by the editorial board. Today is actually a culmination of more than 2 years of hard work by the entire team. We have had our share of challenges, our ups and downs, but on the whole, the experiencing of coordinating this complex job, coordinating each chapter, has been a learning experience for me. And I have discovered that lawyers and medical professionals have much in common. I won't elaborate today. So the book starts a little bit about the book. It starts with critical reflection on the right to health as a human right before moving on to the regulation of medical profession in India, the Indian approach to universal healthcare, and the interwoven aspects of law, medicine, and ethics. The next section deals with the examination of regulatory and legal frameworks in different areas related to the health sector, such as pharmaceuticals, medical devices, technology, biomedical waste, organ transplantation, surrogacy, mental health, elder care, and end-of-life care. One chapter is devoted to the subject of regulating violence against medical professionals and establishments. The chapters on patient care delve into the issues of medical negligence, consent, confidentiality, and medical research. The book ends with an exploration of topics related to the prevailing pandemic, including the Indian telemedicine practice framework, vulnerable populations, and also healthcare financing. The book is designed for easy reading and understanding, and is aimed at healthcare workers, healthcare administrators, lawyers, members of the judiciary, subject-specific tribunals, and in particular, students of the postgraduate diploma in medical law and ethics, which is either in the law school at Bangalore or elsewhere. This unique pairing enables both the medical and legal perspective to be included in every aspect as far as possible. The aim of the book is actually threefold. First, to examine health law from the plural perspective of clinical practice and ethics. Second, to convey the depth of complexity in issues of clinical practice. And thirdly, to critically evaluate challenging developments in the domain of healthcare delivery. With a crisp and clear layout, the book is designed for easy reading and understanding. I must compliment my colleague authors. They've done a remarkable job, given their time, giving of their time and efforts freely and generously in spite of their busy schedules. I think all of you have an idea of the authors. All our seniors, all our experts, all are extremely busy, and we're very, very thankful to them. The reviewers also are senior professionals, and we want to commend them for their efforts. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with the publishers. We have had the experience of working with various publishers, and I must say that Gauri and the team, it's been a pleasure to work with them. They've been dependable, they've been timely, and their work has been of a high quality. We are thankful to the think tank headed by the Vice Chancellor for approving to distribute 1,000 complimentary copies to medical and law institutions across the country. Incidentally, royalties earned from the book, and then hoping the royalties will be large, will go back to the think tank on health for further work in this area. On behalf of all the stakeholders responsible for this book, the members of management committee of the think tank, the authors, the reviewers, the publishers, and others who have contributed in various ways, I would like to say that it is our hope that this book would educate healthcare workers about the legal system in our country, including the rights, responsibilities, and protection. We are confident that this project will ultimately, in some way, result in better healthcare provision to patients in our country. Thank you all once again.
Thank you, Dr. Alex.
Thank you very much. And having heard of a narration of the events that have led to the final publication of this unique book, which is a blend of law and medicine, and published by Thomson Reuters Legal, Let us now acknowledge the services of the editors, authors, reviewers, and publishers. Thank you very much. And with that, we move on to the much awaited moment, release of the book. Can I request the dignitaries? Ms. Arpitha.
Thank you very much. I now request Dr. Devi Shetty, Chairman, Narayana Health, to address our participants.
Thank you very much, Arpitha. I would like to congratulate the authors, Professor Nandimath, Dr. Alex Thomas, Arpitha, and a host of others who have really done a phenomenal job in much needed book to protect the medical practitioners of today. As a doctor, I have been practicing medicine in India for over 40 years. When you look at the confidence the society has and the trust they have imposed on the medical community, it is overwhelming. Even at this stage of my life, after having treated thousands of patients, I am still yet to overcome the confidence and the trust patients have towards us as doctors. I'll just give you people who are not doctors to understand. Every day we interact with large number of patients. As a surgeon, I interact with patients who generally require a heart operation. 2 minutes before they walk into my office, I am a total stranger to them. They walk into my office, they start talking to me, I go through their reports, and then I advise them for a procedure. Most of the time, it's an open heart surgery. And in less than 5 minutes, they trust me to perform a procedure on their body from which they can possibly die. All they have is a trust in the person called doctor to take care of the most precious asset of their life, that is life. This is the degree of confidence patients have on us, and this is the trust society has thrust on us, saying that, look, we trust you to do the right things for the patient, but you do not betray us. We trust you with our life. And in the whole transaction between a professional like me and a client called patients, the discussion is not about money. Discussion is not about the assets or ancestral property. Discussion is only about one thing, that is death. And in the whole transaction, there is no witness. There are only two people, that is the patient and the doctor. So this is the degree of confidence society has imposed on us. It is very, very important for us to live up to their expectations. Now, like every aspect of our life, life is getting more and more complicated. It is very, very important that the younger generation of the doctors who are joining our profession understand the implications of the trust society has imposed on us. And in case of some trust deficit, there is a law of the land to protect us and the patient. It is very important as doctors, we should know what our rights are. At the same time, it is very, very important for us to know what the patient's rights are. What is the ethical implications of every action of ours. So I am so happy that the entire team with Dr. Nandimath, Alex and Arpitha and all of them have contributed in giving this in a very short book, how they have been able to compile all this and educate all of us, including the senior doctors. All these are possible because the National Law School of Bangalore created a body called think tank on healthcare with some of the wonderful people we love to interact on a regular basis. I'm extremely grateful to that think tank, everyone involved in the think tank for creating think tank and keeping it vibrant. I'm extremely grateful to all of you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Devi Shetty. Every time we listen to you, it's only been a motivational aspect to all of us. And I'm sure all my doctor friends here also vouch for that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
We now move on to Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy, the Vice Chancellor of the NLSIU, to address the participants, please.
Thank you, Dr. VC, for getting us started today and getting us to this stage in the proceedings. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us, all the participants who are here at the virtual book launch of this new book on health law and ethics. It's titled as a book on, the subtitle of the book is Critical Reflections, and it doesn't adequately reflect the uniqueness of the approach and the effort that was put in to put this together. And I want to say a little bit about that. But before I go there, may I just thank Justice Banurmat and Dr. Kanitkar, as well as all the board members of the think tank for being here, despite their busy schedules. If you don't see someone, it's because they're traveling or something like that, but they're all logged in. And I know that these are some of the most busy people in the city and the country, and I really appreciate you making the time to be here at this important event. So my colleagues, Professor Nandimath and Dr. Arpitha, together with Dr. Alex, described at some length what it took to produce this book. And I just want to emphasize two parts. The first is that this is an intricately collaborative effort. Now, not only have they tried to put together lawyers or law academics and doctors into every chapter of the book, they've tried to get reviewers from across the disciplines and then producing this kind of collaborative effort. This is difficult by itself. As we all know, we talk in different languages. We think differently about issues. So to find some common ground is an admirable effort. But I think that this was done remotely, much of it through the COVID pandemic, is all the more remarkable because I think we find common ground quickly when we're together in the same space. So I really appreciate, any book is a challenge, but this book is a special kind of challenge, and a really big congratulations to the editors for pulling it off. I'm sure the contributors struggled through their own version of what they wanted to say and what they finally got out on a page. That's the usual perils of writing anything. But the fact that we are here today to celebrate this effort and to put this out, release this book is a real occasion for celebration. Let me close by just sharing in a couple of minutes what the think tank on health is. I'm relatively new to this compared to the founders, and Professor Nandimath described how it was founded. But let me just share what I make of it and where this might go as we celebrate this important output today. So in the last few years, I think all of us have learned that public health and health generally is not, while it might in ordinary times be left to a few people, few specialists to handle and understand. I think the COVID pandemic has taught us that all of us need to have our head around this. Every small measure, whether that be of a quarantine or of an app that you might have to download, raises all kinds of complex questions about what the appropriate boundaries of both medical professionals, state power, and individual citizens are. And these questions, with the advance of technology, are only going to get more complex. They're not, they don't seem to be getting any easier. The COVID pandemic, I trust at least the worst is behind us. But even if we have some more versions of this, we must be prepared. Very early in National Law School's history, the postgraduate diploma in medical law and ethics was started off. It was a very important postgraduate diploma and brought doctors, lawyers, and other academics together to study this field. And if I'm not mistaken, we were the only ones doing it at that point in time. And we have almost created this field, at least in Indian literature and Indian research. This field has been curated and created by colleagues over generations at the National Law School. The PGD MLE program remains extremely strong, and I see this book as a book that emerged out of those teaching experiences and has really, it validates the early decision to start such a program and push in this direction. Besides the PGD MLE program in the last few years, we have now launched 2 PhD fellowships in public law and health. We've also created, we've also launched 3 discrete research projects in this field. And I'll just name one of them because I'm personally involved. It would almost be a companion book to this one, which looks at the constitutional law of public health. And so I'm very glad that discrete efforts like this, varied efforts by different colleagues, are coming together in interesting ways to produce a corpus of material that is useful to shape this field. Dr. Alex, in his earlier remarks, mentioned why it was so important to the professions that unless we negotiate this transition well as these professions scale up, and they affect our daily lives so immensely, that working out the contours of that relationship between the medical profession and people at large, lawyers, courts, and people at large is really critical. And this is the effort that we have launched at the National Law School. The think tank on health has some of the most illustrious members of the medical profession and eminent philanthropists and academics on that board. I'm very certain, we met a few days ago, I'm very certain that what we will see in the months and years ahead will be intensification of the good work that's been done in the past. And I trust that the community that we serve through this work will benefit from this kind of initiative. And I look forward to both working and speaking with many of you in the days to come on this important initiative. Thank you and congratulations to the editors and the contributors once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very meaningful, futuristic and progressive address to the participants. Over to you, Arpitha.
We now request Dr. Abhijat Sheth, President, National Board of Examinations, to share his thoughts.
Namaste and very good evening to all my senior colleagues or my on-by friends and senior colleagues, Professor Devi Shetty, Alex Thomas, and all other senior dignitaries and the participants. On behalf of the National Board of Examination, I heartily congratulate the team who wrote this book, Professor Nandimath, Dr. Alex Thomas, Ms. Arpitha, and the host of the authors and reviewers. And it's a wonderful creative work. I always believe in continuing this type of activities. Even I always encourage and motivate my colleagues at a national board that we must work to be more creative, more positive, and more objective to take the medical education at the next level. Interestingly, the role of the regulatory framework was always there. It was there previously, but in the past, as I mentioned before also, that it was largely self-regulatory because everyone was well aware with their ethical values to a larger extent. But since the complexity of the medical profession has increased, the technicality, the demands, the patient expectations has increased, there is a need for very objective and robust regulatory framework. This regulatory framework doesn't mean that you keep on penalizing people or adding the penultimate clause, but as Professor Devi Shetty has said, that it starts from educating the people, make them aware about what is the ethical values in the current scenarios are. And certainly, when we publish the guideline on ethical values and roles and responsibilities of the doctors, it's always a very large and broad spectrum of process. But law is very important because law can always balance the dilemmas which arises from the ethical guidelines, demanding ethical guidelines, and ethical values of the current scenario. So both go in hand together, and certainly it's one more great initiative by Dr. Alex Thomas and team. I once again congratulate them, and on behalf of the National Board of Examination, I promise that we will have some form of objective inclusion of these subjects within our framework in the coming years that can help our students at a very large extent. And as I promised that for last few years, we are working together, Anbai and ourselves, the National Board, will continue our journey with positive set of mind, and we will get to the next level where I will always, and I won't be shying from complimenting the Anbai to help us with this journey. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abhijat, all the more for initiating, the curriculum all the more further. Thank you very much on that.
May I now request Honorable Mr. Justice S.R. Bannurmath, Chairman of the Karnataka Law Commission, to address the participants, please. Sir.
Dr. Devi Shetty, Professor Sudhir Krishnaswamy, Dr. Abhijit, Dr. Madhuri Kanetkar, Shri Krish Gopal Krishnan, Dr. Kantikar, Professor Omprakash, Nandimath, Dr. Alex Thomas, Arpitha, and all the participants in this unique program. Good evening to you all. It gives me immense pleasure to be part of such a wonderful event where another book of contemporary relevance joins the ever-growing jurisprudence in India. I feel immensely privileged for this opportunity coming in my way. My life journey of 5 decades in legal field as a judge, as a chief justice, as a chairman of Human Rights Commission, and presently as a chairman of Law Commission of Karnataka, has helped me to develop few insights into the area of health law. Without much of weight, I intend to share these insights with you and draw from those insights how the present book by eminent authors and team of editors have succeeded in filling my knowledge gap also. The area of health law is still in its infancy, although we have galloping legal developments around us. Many people mistake medical negligence law to be the entire area of health law. The health law is much wider concept and entails the area of medical negligence. Undoubtedly, a patient is facilitated by providing him access to consumer dispute redressal tribunals, of which my good friend Dr. Kantikar is an integral part. This part is one minuscule part of the health law. The Constitution of India guarantees every one of us the fundamental right to health, making it obligation of the state to ensure optimal health services to all. The state shall not dilute its focus in bringing better justiciability to the individual rights to health. I feel there is a dearth of appropriate legal literature on this point. I often wondered, as a constitutional judge or as a chairman of Human Rights Commission, whenever I decided whether I'm doing good to the patient by allowing or rejecting his claim for compensation for the alleged medical negligence, or as a court of justice, I should look at bigger picture. Somehow, my continued belief is that the constitutional courts should attempt to see the big picture. Let us see if a hospital must cut its corners due to heavy amount of monetary compensation to be paid, increased health costs, making it beyond the reach of poor, and defensive medications are few evils both of us, that is medical professionals and judiciary, have produced. And there is no deep thinking to improve the situation. The shrinking autonomy of the medical professionals, as I have seen, makes me worry a lot. As we have seen in the West, the doctor lost his autonomy first to the government, then to the pharma industries, and now to the insurance companies. In many cases I had dealt, it is the insurance companies now influencing the medical decisions rather than the medical professionals, and it makes me very anxious. The state is simultaneously playing the role of buyer, supplier, and regulator of the health sector, which is not a small puzzle to solve. This has led to many aberrations while we attempt to enforce the law. Aping the West or improving Western medical protocols will not help us solving our challenges in the health sector. All these aspects reoccurred in my mind when I started reading the present book. It must be stated that the carefully aligned 20 chapters attempt to cover both public and private aspects of health and the law. The team of doctors and lawyers and academicians writing most of the chapters appeal to me most. Their approach not only accounts for the pure law, but also limitations of the law. Remember, health law is probably only subject where it interfaces with ethics constantly. Various articles in this book makes the reader to understand even limitations of law. Many of the chapters I have read attempt to capture all the aspects of health law and ethics. I take this opportunity to wish the editorial team, Dr. Nandimath, Dr. Alex, and Arpitha for gathering top experts of both medical and legal fraternity to accomplish this job in superb style. The authors deserve to be complimented, especially for their wonderful contribution. I'm just told that now this editorial team is contemplating to produce similar work to critically look into death, dignity, and law. I'm thrilled to see the project to take off soon. I would also like to compliment Professor Nandimath and his editorial team for excellent work. The publishers are also to be complimented not only for the excellent book, but also organizing this event and especially involving me along with best medical professionals and academicians. I wish the journey of the book will affect the desired change in improving the health system, both professional, medical professionally as well as legally. Thank you very much all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to thank our Mr. Justice S.R. Banurmat, sir, for that wonderful address to the participants. And before I hand over to Ms. Arpitha, for the benefit of the participants, the previous speaker, Dr. Abhijat Sheth, addressed this participants from USA, and he had been frequently referring to ANBI, which stands for Association of National Board Accredited Institutions. With that, over to Ms. Arpitha.
Thank you very much, sir. We now request Dr. Madhuri Kanetkar, Vice Chancellor of the Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, to address the gathering.
Thank you very much at the outset, senior August guests, chief guests, and all the members attending this symposium. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Alex and the publishers for inviting me to join this wonderful occasion where a book of health, law, and ethics critical reflections is being released and launched. And in that, I would like to compliment Professor Omprakash, Dr. Alex Thomas, and all the other editors, as well as all the authors who have brought out those 20 chapters. But while I was listening to Honorable Justice Banurmat and Dr. Devi Shetty, I myself started reflecting on why this book is required. And when you reflect, actually, you say what happened. It starts with what happened. And what is happening is that what correctly brought is there is a loss of trust. And why is there a loss of trust from the people? Because I think it's not just one T. It is 3 T's which come together. And it is trust, tongue, and time. I think this is exactly where the problems are emanating from. And people are what was considered a very noble relationship between the treated and the person who's treating. It has been eroded and corroded over time. And therefore, I really compliment that the two, in lighter vein, the two professions which have a code of ethics, which have a council, and who are the only ones who keep practicing, because practice makes a person perfect. So it's the lawyers and the doctors who keep practicing. And that is where, and can do so lifelong. And if they've come together, and at this, the seniority and the experience that has come to the table with this book is phenomenal. But coming back to the problem of this loss of trust, and we say, so what? Like there is a loss of trust, but I also feel there's a large responsibility on how a problem is presented, how law is being used, and very often having been on the ethics committee of the Board of Governors at the Medical Council of India, one realized that it was this tongue, the communication, which went wrong. And the third aspect is the perception of the public. From a good old communication or relationship between two people, we've brought in too many factors. The corporatization of the medical care is no more between a doctor and a patient. It is between an organization and a group of people in society. Now, when that happens, somewhere we need to also educate the public. It is not just telling doctors what you have to do or teaching them law. I mean, there's no end to learning everything that can go wrong, but also the perceptions where public still continue to blame that one doctor who he comes under treatment. And no more it is about a private practitioner who is treating a patient. No more is there a family physician who's touching the patient, who's holding the hand. It's become a complete, and what Honorable Justice just mentioned, I think if we ape the West, we are calling for doomsday, because we are corroding what was there as our good old, what was envisaged as a tiered health system where everyone was expected to do good. And the whole code of ethics was decided by professionals of the same profession. We are giving that up. We are bringing law, which is fine because people are at the receiving, but somewhere we have not educated the public that now it is, you can't blame the doctor for everything. Most of the conditions, what happen is, for example, if there is a person who's gone for an orthopedic surgery and then he gets a bed sore or a nursing and some oxygen was not there in the administration, the doctor is at a wit's end trying to run between a consumer court, between an ethics code, between the council code, and he is totally finished. So I don't know where this is leading to. And so while teaching and while giving these insights to medical people, I would also reinforce what Justice Banapurmat said by saying we need to look at the bigger picture and find solutions for the bigger picture, where we bring in trust, where people have time for patients, and where this exactly thing then results in a rebuilding of that trust. And therefore, educating the public is equally important. The other aspect that I'd like to flag here is that I totally agree that we need to teach medical students, but when we, because there was a point made that about curriculum, does anything which is given when it is, exam oriented becomes a short note or an exam. This is much more. This is not just giving information or giving a book. It is not neither giving knowledge. You're trying to give wisdom, which is a third higher level. And for that, it will become acceptable only when it is meaningful and it is also relevant, which means that the person is going to need that information, and also the person is going to have a past knowledge. So whereas our undergraduate curriculum gives them an idea of what is ethics, we are bombarding him with too much. So there's an ethics of research, there's an ethics of clinical care, there's an ethics of public health. There is, as was brought out, public health being a total different, we can't put everything under, and these chapters have addressed various, which is an excellent thing. But I think the two groups of people who are going to benefit the most, and everyone I would recommend and see how we can implement, is young specialists who are moving out into private practice. I think this is the most relevant because they're the ones who are being most affected. And the second group of people would be the private practitioners who are out there, specialists. So as he was brought out, the ANABI, I mean, at all these hospital libraries, I think the doctors should be encouraged, and one such association could be this thing of Doctors Association, which is there, the IMA. I think they can also promote leading this. So I think we need to take it beyond the student level and take it through bodies like the IMA. These are a few of my thoughts. I once again compliment for an excellent exposition, and I'd request and urge all the senior lawyers and doctors to come together in actually explaining the most common and this kind of data through legal framework, through the medical council, through law, could take out the most common conditions which are there, and without naming I mean, there could be case histories, and that could also be a sequel to this. And with that, I thank you all once again, and all the best to everyone. Jai Hind.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Madhuri, for so eruditely, bringing in the interface of both health and law, and also, informing us that how important it is for both youngsters and senior professionals to, do much more on this area. So thank you very much, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, though joined us for a very brief point of time, is unable to join us at this moment of time. So we move on to the next speaker, Dr. S.M. Kantikar ji, a member, National Consumer Commission. So over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I first sincerely thank all the speakers, the seniors, who made my speech very easy. They have elaborately discussed about this book, and definitely that will help me to put some points for all the gathering. One thing, for the past 8 years, I am in the National Consumer Commission and coming across to adjudicate up to number of medical negligence cases. And I realized, being a doctor, being a legal professional, I realized what is the difficulty to adjudicate the cases against the medical professionals. And in overall, what I experienced in the last 8 years, it is known that doctors are awfully lack of their basic legal knowledge while professing their profession. We have to accept. And moreover, the present medical education does not provide about the legal aspects of medical practice. Secondly, for the last 1 decade, there is a rising trend of medical negligence cases, and which this becomes an imperative initiative to be undertaken. And every time I never fail to discuss the inclusion of medical law as a subject in the undergraduate curriculum whenever I get the opportunity to address any national conference on various medical conferences in the country. But so far, till date, nothing happened. I strongly feel that this gap is due to non-availability of standard literature on the subject matter about the medical law, and which is either written in easy language, which doctors will read and understand. I have gone through this book and the present book, which just I read and I have to complete it. And the major portion I have read, it fits and it's prescribed, as I feel it has prescribed as a text and materials for the learning medical law and ethics at the medical colleges for the both undergraduate and postgraduate level. I sincerely expect our Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University and shall consider this aspect with NMC also, National Medical Council. She was also a member, formerly member of that, to inclusion of this subject. Even I request Dr. Abhijit Shah to think over on this. So owing to their responsibility, respective professional approach, both the doctors and lawyers, they attempt to understand law differently. But both are professionals. The medical professional attempt to translate the law into the protocols, like medical protocols or their SOPs, and the lawyers attempt to expand the jurisprudential principles in the medical practice. We need to special cult of professionals to address this issue. It's often ideated that We require doctors knowing law and lawyers to know to know medicine also. In fact, a tall order of experience is expected. So without going into deep into this aspect, I can only state that this book adopts a unique way of deploying a team of expert doctors in the field of operations with an eminent lawyer writing on each of the carefully chosen topics. This approach of synthesis is the first of its kind in India, making this book not only a unique but very useful for both professionals to learn deeper insight. Just Dr. Kanekar told, this book not only gives knowledge, it is a for a wisdom. Definitely, as a medical professional, it is a for the wisdom of the doctors, because doctors are under hanging sword of Damocles. He has to face now the attitude of doctor is, he is viewing every patient as a potential litigant. And you know, the courts, the consumer courts, they are worried about the consumer courts, and even there is a protection, but they are worried about the law. So doctors should learn law, it is my view. Then along with, I may want to mention, along with my colleagues at National Commission, we work at resolving consumer disputes and do treat the consumers as a favored litigant and provide him a bit of priority in settling the claims. But however, sustained long-term consumer welfare is only possible when we see it from the broader perspective. Being harsh always, when we see it from the broader, being harsh always with a medical professional is not a proper way to forge ahead, because if the courts are penalizing the doctors, it is not, the medical practitioner will not practice without his fear. There will be chances of defensive practice and other. So myself as a man belonging to the rare category, it's a little difficult while deciding the cases on medical negligence. But after reading some chapters of this book, I got conviction about that sense that something could be done by educating the doctors through this book. Therefore, this book, instead of reproducing the decisions of law courts or tribunals in attractive manner, it has attempted to go beyond this and decisional laws and raises question of credibility and the approach of the court also. So in nutshell, every turn of this page of this book, I am becoming wiser and have been getting intellectual tools to solve some of my intellectual conflicts. I would strongly advise and hope, because I am from consumer area, I hope every member in all the consumer commissions in the country, either district or state or national commission, go through this book and enrich themselves about the medical law for fair adjudication of medical negligence cases which are long pending in the country. I therefore compliment the editorial team, my friend Dr. Nandimath, Dr. Alex and Dr. Arpitha, who took the best efforts under National Law School, which has given me much more, the PGD MLA which I did, PhD which I did. So I have very high regards and respect for the National Law School and the think tank which has brought this book. Being a medical profession, in my earlier avatar myself, I do understand how difficult it is for the doctors to take time out of their clinical practice to write something. That is also law. And I further feel the doctors involved in this book project deserve special compliments also. As I said, Professor Nandimath, a good old friend of mine since 2002, known to me from my PhD days, also at National Law School. I know how creative he is in attempting to try and bringing with bold explanation about the reality and educating the doctors also. I only hope he would undertake many such initiatives in the days to come to better the health delivery systems in the country. Finally, this is a collaborative approach which certainly brought a sigh of relief when I read this book. Then I certainly will recommend means I will advise all the medical societies to have a book at least in their library and have a go through and make attempt to protect yourself, understand something about law. I came across many things. If some doctor receives the notice, he will be afraid what notice this is. So don't be afraid. So finally, I do take the opportunity to thank the organizers and the publishers of this program for providing me this rare opportunity to express myself before the August gathering. Congratulate again the editorial team. I thank the seniors here, the Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Justice Bannurmat, the Alex, Dr. Kanitkar Madam, and all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sri Kantikar ji, for giving us a review of our book and also, for exploring the book by being an alumni of the National Law School. You've done your PhD, MLA, and your PhD from the National Law School. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Dr. VC.
Thank you, Ms. Arpitha. And now it's time for us to listen to Mr. Gauri Shankar Natesan, representing the publishers Thomson Reuters Legal. Mr. Gauri Shankar, please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. All the dignitaries present, our esteemed editors, Professor Nandimath, Omprakash, Professor of Law, NLSIU, Dr. Alexander Thomas, President, Association of Healthcare Providers, India, and Ms. Arpitha, Assistant Professor of Law at the Center of Health Law and Ethics at NLSIU, authors, reviewers, members of NLSIU's think tank on health, medical legal fraternities, media, students, and everyone else who's here today for the launch of Health Law and Ethics. Thank you for your time and presence. Thomson Reuters is a leading publisher in the legal space, as everybody knows. And they work exclusively with Newgen Knowledge Works as their contracting affiliate in the countries of India and Malaysia. Together, we offer a varied catalog in the print and digital space with various commentaries, monographs across different practice areas of law. Newgen is based in Chennai, and we've been a leading presence in the publishing space across, over 2 decades. So we specialize in legal publishing, developing proprietary technology solutions, as well as managing the editorial design, manufacturing, and distribution of print and online publications. And now to the book, the story of which for us as publishers goes back to, in fact, exact date is 17th of July, 2020. When Professor Nandimath responded to a routine mail our acquisitions team generally sends out to potential authors. So he replied to the mail the same day, and I quote, "Right now, as part of think tank on health, which I run at the National Law School of India, we are planning to bring a book, namely Health Law and Ethics, source book for policy practitioners. This book attempts to look at law from plural perspectives, especially from clinical practice and ethics. The aim is to instigate the reader to understand the complexity in involved issues and to an extent, critically evaluate the developments in the domain of healthcare delivery today, especially in India." End quote. This is exactly what he wrote back, and immediately. So events progressed quickly after that, and Thomson Reuters agreed to publish the book that has been released today. And I think a copy of which many of you already possess. Unlike most other books that we publish, we worked with the editors of the volume to coordinate with the reviewers and the authors to get the final manuscript in shape. The biggest plus we had in the publication of Health Law and Ethics was an extraordinary prompt and cooperative set of editors, authors, and reviewers. The USP of this book is that the chapters are jointly authored by doctors and lawyers. The doctors are working on the book while simultaneously trying to understand and control the raging pandemic. The credit for the fact that the manuscript progressed to a book with no hiccups in timelines must go to the authors and the editors. My production team, including copy editors, production editors, and typesetters, are always up to meeting challenges, and they delivered on this occasion as well. I am proud of them as I am of my sales and marketing teams. They worked in tandem with the production team to ensure smooth printing, dispatch, and publicity of the book. I must include a special word of thanks to the volume editors for their steady, unflagging appreciation for the work done by the team at Newgen. Their appreciation has gone a long way in motivating the team to deliver their best. Dr. Harsha Jauhari's note, which we received on the 16th of March, 2022, sums up our work. He said, and I quote, "I have just received the hard copies of the book, Health Law and Ethics, Critical Reflections. The presentation, the layout, the printing, and binding are beautiful and do full justice to the content. The fact that I'm a co-author in a chapter is icing on the cake. My sincere compliments on an excellent production." End of quote. Thank you, Dr. Chowdhury. As Dr. Alex Thomas said, this book is aimed at healthcare workers, healthcare administrators, lawyers, members of the judiciary, tribunals, and students of the postgraduate diploma in medical or ethics at the National Law School or elsewhere. On our part, we will put in every effort to make sure the book reaches the people and the places it must. We look forward to more opportunities to work with the editors and authors, NLSIU, and the think tank on health. Till then, our best wishes on the success of Health Law and Ethics, and to each of you in your respective fields. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gauri Shankar. Very kind of you for those wonderful words. And with that, we come to the end of the program. And may I call upon Ms. Arpitha to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. VC. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a privilege to propose the vote of thanks. And at this point of time, I'm very, very emotional, to be on this platform where we are obviously promoting our book. But we're very thankful to all our dignitaries, our very eminent speakers for addressing us this evening and being with us in spite of your very busy schedule. I must place on record and acknowledge our editorial team consisting of both Dr. Alex and Professor Nandimath. Of course, Professor Nandimath, always towards your push for perfection, and Dr. Alex, I miss your coffee. Right. So thank you very much. And all the discussions that we have on the initiation and brainstorming over how best we can come up with this book. So thank you very much. It was indeed a learning from both of you. We are very thankful to all the authors who have contributed to this book, most importantly for your patience throughout the entire process. Our utmost gratitude to our reviewers, without whose inputs this book could have definitely been incomplete. And a heartfelt thanks to our team of publishers from Thomson Reuters for reposing faith with us, throughout this entire journey. Last but not the least, our well-wishers, all those of you who have already purchased this book, all those of you who have sent us congratulatory messages, and a special thanks to all our PGD MLE scholars, most of whom I see right now as participants. So thank you, each one of you, for making this happen, most importantly. And we look forward to coming with many more such intellectually stimulating books in different areas of law. Thank you very much once again to all of you.
So thank you, everybody, and have a good day. And thank you on behalf of the entire team.
Right then, with this, we bring the curtains down on the inaugural function or release of the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.